Insane to pull the trigger to kill your son, masturbates his memory.
Courtrooms are meant to uphold order, respect, and justice, but not every moment inside them goes as planned.
God! God!
Count one would be 10,000.
Sometimes, it's the youngest individuals who completely flip the script.
Get the fuck!
Whether it's unexpected tantrums, bold outbursts, or just jaw-dropping behavior, some kids have managed to turn the courtroom into a scene no one saw coming. In this video, we're exploring some of the most shocking and disrespectful moments involving kids in court.
Was worth the next at least 52 years of your continued existence.
I just want to tell y'all, I'll be home soon, or I'll be Keon. I love my family.
Quincy Tuttle. Quincy Tuttle, an 11-year-old student, shocked his school when he brought a dangerous collection of weapons to campus. His plan began to unravel when his mother noticed kitchen knives were missing and immediately contacted the school. This led to a tense, 2-hour lockdown as authorities uncovered the alarming truth. Quincy had brought a .22 caliber handgun, more than 400 rounds of ammunition, multiple knives, and 2 loaded magazines. Investigators later revealed that Quincy had planned to settle a dispute at school, violently and tragically. Prosecutors charged him with multiple serious offenses, including attempted assault, unlawful possession of a firearm, and bringing a weapon onto school grounds. As the case progressed, those involved described his behavior as aggressive, uncooperative,
Get the fuck!
and deeply concerning. Eventually, Quincy pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree attempted assault, theft of a firearm, second-degree unlawful possession of a firearm, and possession of a dangerous weapon on school property. He was sentenced to 2 years in a juvenile detention center. While his actions were undeniably alarming, this case became a powerful reminder. Parental awareness and school safety can save lives. Authorities credited Quincy's mother for noticing something wasn't right and stepping in before a tragedy could unfold. Morgan Geyser. On May 31, 2014, a shocking event unfolded in Waukesha, Wisconsin, when 2 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, carried out a horrifying attack on their best friend, Peyton Leutner. The crime, which gained national attention, was committed in the name of the fictional character, Slender Man. Morgan and Anissa lured Peyton into a wooded area, where they stabbed her 19 times in a brutal attempt to please Slender Man, believing they needed to prove their loyalty to him. During police questioning, Morgan admitted she was the first to stab Peyton, followed by Anissa. She also mentioned that they had intended to leave Peyton there to die rather than get her help. Despite the severe injuries, including stab wounds to her arms, legs, and torso, some dangerously close to vital organs, Peyton miraculously survived. She managed to crawl to a nearby road where a passing cyclist found her, covered in blood. Emergency responders quickly arrived and rushed her to the hospital, where she received life-saving medical care. After being arrested, Morgan displayed an unsettling lack of remorse. Interrogation footage showed her acting strangely. She sometimes walked around, singing, dancing, and making bizarre comments about her fate, including fears that she would be beheaded. This behavior, along with the gruesome details of the attack, shocked investigators and the public alike. Both Morgan and Anissa were charged with attempted first-degree homicide and were tried as adults due to the severity of their crime. The court determined that Morgan, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, required extensive psychiatric treatment. She ultimately received a sentence of 40 years to life, which included mandatory mental health care. The case became one of the most infamous examples of how internet myths and delusions can influence young minds. Peyton's survival was nothing short of a miracle, and her bravery in the aftermath of the attack inspired many. Austin Myers. In Waynesville, Ohio, On January 28, 2014, Austin Myers and his accomplice, Timothy E. Mosley, were involved in the brutal murder of 18-year-old Justin Back. The two knew Justin from middle school and had a plan to rob his stepfather's safe. They thought it would be a simple crime with no mess to clean up, as they planned to strangle Justin to death. However, things quickly spiraled out of control. When Justin fought back, Austin and Timothy escalated their plan. They ended up stabbing him 21 times, strangling him, and even shooting him twice after he was dead. Afterward, they dumped Justin's body in a remote area in Preble County. The crime was cold and calculated, with Austin and Timothy leaving no sign of remorse for their actions. In court, Austin was charged with first-degree murder for his role in planning the crime, while Timothy was charged for carrying out the stabbing. Both men were accused of aggravated murder, and the trial revealed just how disturbing Austin's role was. He not only masterminded the murder but also tried to acquire chemicals to help decompose Justin's body. Austin also fired 2 shots into the body after Justin had already died. Justin's family gave a heartbreaking statement in court, expressing the pain of losing their loved one in such a senseless way. They shared how Justin had begged for his life, but Austin did nothing to stop the crime. His family made it clear that Austin could have changed his mind, but instead, he chose not to. Austin Myers was sentenced to death, becoming the youngest person on death row in Ohio at the time. The judge stated that the crime was so horrific, the aggravating circumstances outweighed any reason to show mercy. Austin, only 19 years old, admitted his mistake, but still faced the consequences for his actions. His life and future were forever changed by the terrible choices he made that night. Aiden Fucci. Imagine a quiet night in Florida, where 2 teenagers, Aiden Fucci and Tristan Bailey, walked together in their neighborhood. It seemed like an ordinary evening, but it would soon turn into a horrifying crime that shocked everyone. CCTV footage captured the 2 of them walking together in an easterly direction. Later that night, only Aiden was seen on camera, this time running away, holding something in his hands. Hours later, Tristan was reported missing, and soon after, her body was found in a wooded area. She had been stabbed 114 times. After his arrest, Aiden acted as if the situation wasn't serious. Sitting in the back of a police car, he posted a video on Snapchat, joking and smirking. His parents, however, knew the gravity of what had happened. During an interrogation, his mother told him, "This is your whole life. This is serious." Later, she was caught on surveillance footage trying to wash blood out of the jeans he had worn that night. She was charged with tampering with evidence. When Aiden appeared in court, he was visibly disturbed, muttering about demons taking his soul. Eventually, he pleaded guilty and apologized to Tristan's family, though no apology could undo what had been done. Tristan's sister delivered a powerful statement in court. She held a jar with 114 stones, 1 for each of Tristan's wounds, and asked Aiden if he had stayed to watch her die or if he had left her in pain. Her words left the courtroom in silence. Tristan's mother made it clear that she would never forgive him. "Aiden Fucci, your actions are unforgivable," she said. "I will pray every day that you stay in prison forever and never harm anyone again." The judge called it one of the most shocking cases in the county's history. He stated that Tristan had been aware and fighting for her life during the attack. He also pointed out that Aiden had planned to kill someone. Tristan just became his chosen victim. In the end, Aiden Fucci was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He was only 14 years old, but his actions destroyed countless lives. John Venables and Robert Thompson. On February 12, 1993, a heartbreaking event took place in the UK that shocked the nation. James Patrick Bulger, a 2-year-old boy, was abducted, tortured, and killed by 2 10-year-old boys, John Venables and Robert Thompson. This crime sent waves of disbelief and horror throughout the country. It all started when James's mother, Denise, briefly lost sight of her son while they were shopping at the New Strand shopping centre in Bootle, Merseyside. In that short moment, John and Robert saw their chance. Security cameras later showed the two boys watching other children and picking James as their target. They then approached him, took his hand, and led him away from the shopping centre. The boys walked James for more than 2.5 miles through Liverpool. During this time, they hurt him and made cruel jokes about throwing him into a canal. James cried for help, but the boys kept going. In an attempt to cover up what they were doing, they stuffed batteries into James's mouth and possibly inserted them into his anus. They even hoped a train would hit him to make it look like an accident. Eventually, they left James alone and vulnerable on a set of railway tracks.
The body was discovered on a railway line right next to a police station in Walton, Liverpool.
Later, when questioned about their actions, both John and Robert confessed to killing James. They were interviewed separately, and while John showed emotional distress, he acted strangely, often moving around and seeking comfort from the detectives. Both boys were arrested and charged with abduction and murder. Given the seriousness of the crime, they were tried as adults. The court called their actions unparalleled evil and sentenced them to detention at Her Majesty's pleasure, making them the youngest convicted murderers in modern British history. In February 2001, after serving years in prison, John and Robert were released. They were given new identities and strong legal protection to shield them from public retaliation. This was done with the hope of allowing them a chance to rehabilitate while ensuring their safety in society. The case of James Bulger remains one of the most shocking and tragic crimes in the UK, and it serves as a reminder of the deep impact such a loss has on a family and society. Joshua Phillips. On November 3, 1998, a seemingly innocent invitation to play baseball turned into a nightmare for 15-year-old Joshua Phillips. His 5-year-old friend, Maddie Clifton, knocked on his door to join him, but their game ended in a horrific tragedy. While playing, Maddie was accidentally struck by the baseball, causing her to bleed and cry. Joshua, scared about how his father would react, panicked. In his fear, he dragged Maddie into his home, and things quickly took a dark turn. He used a baseball bat to silence her cries. Unfortunately, the situation worsened when he realized Maddie was still alive. In an even more shocking act, Joshua slit her throat and stabbed her several times with a knife, ultimately killing her. Joshua hid Maddie's body under his mattress, and it wasn't until November 10th, when his mother discovered the lifeless body, that the truth was revealed. She immediately called the authorities. That same day, Joshua was arrested and later confessed to the murder.
We found Maddie Clifton this morning at about 7:30 a.m. She was dead.
In an emotional interview, Joshua admitted his inner conflict, saying, "I thought that ignoring problems would make them vanish." This mindset, he believed, contributed to his tragic actions. During his trial, Joshua was tried as an adult. His defense did not present any witnesses, arguing instead that Maddie's death started as an accident and spiraled out of control. In 1994, Joshua was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His young age at the time of the crime was the only reason he avoided the death penalty. Joshua's case became a topic of debate as time passed. After serving 27 years in prison, he was granted parole, and in February 2022, he was released. This sparked discussions about the complexities of justice, the potential for redemption, and how society should treat young offenders. While some believed he deserved a second chance, others questioned whether he had truly earned his freedom. Joshua's release brought to light the difficult questions about crime, punishment, and the possibility of change for those who commit serious offenses at a young age. Brenda Spencer. On January 29, 1979, A 16-year-old girl named Brenda Ann Spencer committed a horrifying act of violence at Grover Cleveland Elementary School, which was right across from her house. Armed with a rifle that her father had given her as a Christmas gift, Brenda opened fire on the school, targeting children and staff. Her actions left the community in shock and disbelief. "I got shot, and then Mr. Barnes said, they said, he said." When Brenda was later interviewed about the shooting, she made a chilling statement. "It's real because I did it, you know? And I take responsibility for doing, the crime itself." This comment showed how disconnected she was from the gravity of what she had done, offering a glimpse into her mindset.
"Jack, you guys run!" Then I got shot and then I went in the nurse's office and I was bleeding a lot. I just was laying there.
Brenda later explained that her mental state was influenced by drug and alcohol use, which caused her to hallucinate. She claimed she saw commandos chasing her, which may have contributed to her unstable behavior before the shooting.
I started hallucinating, and when I'd look out, I'd see like commando guys in combat gear and stuff coming up.
This troubling explanation pointed to deeper issues she was dealing with at the time. After the shooting, Brenda was charged as an adult. On April 4, 1980, just one day after her 18th birthday, she was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. While in prison, she faced several challenges, including struggling with epilepsy and depression. Brenda became eligible for parole in 1993, but her requests for release have been consistently denied. Her next chance for parole is scheduled for 2025, but it remains unclear whether she will ever be released. The uncertainty surrounding her future has left many wondering what will happen next. Brenda's case is a tragic reminder of the devastating consequences of untreated mental health issues and the importance of addressing them before they lead to irreversible actions. Alyssa Bustamante. On October 21, 2009, Alyssa Bustamante, a 15-year-old girl, committed a terrible crime against a younger girl named Elizabeth Olton. Pretending to be friends, Alyssa lured Elizabeth into the woods, where she carried out a violent attack. Alyssa strangled Elizabeth, cut her throat, and then stabbed her 8 times. What makes this crime even more horrifying is that Alyssa had planned it days in advance, even digging a grave for her victim beforehand. When Alyssa was interviewed about her actions, she showed a shocking lack of remorse. She was asked if she had cut Elizabeth's throat, and though she seemed emotional, there was no real regret in her response. She went on to explain how she used a kitchen knife and described her actions in a disturbing way.
There's a tree line. Did you want to draw this for you? I have a map. Oh.
Now, the thing about this map, okay. I don't think it has...
Alyssa later revealed that her motive for the crime was even more chilling. She wanted to know what it felt like to take another person's life. Alyssa was born on January 28, 1994, and her childhood was troubled. In February 2002, she was placed in her grandparents' care because her mother struggled with substance abuse, and her father was in prison. Signs of Alyssa's emotional decline became clear in February 2007, when she tried to take her own life and showed a worrying interest in self-harm on her social media. After killing Elizabeth, Alyssa's behavior grew even darker. In her journal she wrote, "I just killed someone. I strangled them, slashed their throat, and stabbed them. The feeling was exhilarating." Shockingly, Alyssa went to church while the authorities were searching for Elizabeth. When Alyssa was arrested and brought to court, she initially claimed she wasn't guilty of first-degree murder and weapon charges. However, in January 2012, she agreed to a plea deal for second-degree murder. This led to a life sentence with the possibility of parole in 2024 plus an additional 30 years. In February 2014, when Alyssa asked to have her sentence reduced, her request was denied. During her trial, doctors diagnosed Alyssa with major depression and borderline personality disorder. These diagnoses revealed the mental health struggles that played a role in her actions. Alyssa's case is a tragic reminder of how important it is to address mental health issues and the impact they can have when left untreated. Eric Smith. What started as a regular summer day quickly turned into a nightmare when 13-year-old Derek Smith crossed paths with 5-year-old Eric Robbie. This unexpected meeting would lead to an event that shocked everyone in the community. In an interview, Derek spoke about his troubled mindset at that age, saying, "Unfortunately, at 13, I viewed life in a very dark manner. I couldn't carry the pain and anguish I felt anymore." These words hinted at the terrible actions that followed. Derek led Eric into the nearby woods, where he ended the young boy's life brutally. He later explained that I hit him over the head with a rock numerous times and poured Kool-Aid on him. I became the bully that I hated in school. And I became the bully that I hated in school. I became the individual who dished out pain. Derek's past was filled with feelings of isolation and bullying, which likely played a role in his violent outburst. When Eric went missing, a desperate search was launched, leaving the whole community in shock. At first, Derek told investigators that he had just been passing by when the incident occurred, trying to mislead them into thinking he had witnessed the tragedy. However, just 6 days later, Derek confessed to his mother, which led to his arrest.
How you holding up there?
In court, Derek's defense team argued that he had a condition called occasional explosive disorder, but the prosecution said his actions were so serious that he needed to face the consequences even though he was young. In 1994, Derek was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 9 years to life in prison. In October 2021, after 27 years behind bars, Derek's life took an unexpected turn when he was granted parole. His release was originally planned for November 2021, but there were delays due to housing issues.
He remains behind bars in a Western New York State prison. His next parole interview is scheduled for October of 2021.
Finally, on February 1, 2022, Derek was released from prison. This news sparked heated discussions about justice, rehabilitation, and how society should handle young offenders who commit violent crimes. Derek's case is a tragic reminder of how important it is to understand the complex factors behind violent actions, including mental health issues, and how we as a society can help prevent such crimes in the future. James Fairweather. On March 29, 2014, a horrifying event took place when James Fairweather attacked James Atfield, a father of 5. Atfield was lying on the grass at Castle Park. Having recently been in a car accident and drinking, Fairweather brutally stabbed Atfield over 100 times, leaving defensive wounds on his arms and hands, showing his desperate attempt to survive. But this attack wasn't the only one. On June 17, Fairweather attacked Nahid Al-Manaya, a 31-year-old student from Saudi Arabia who was studying at the University of Essex.
Nahid Al-Manaya was a guest in our country studying at the University of Essex, a Saudi Arabian national who travelled here to further her studies.
After stabbing her, Fairweather stabbed her eyes, claiming he did so to stop her from witnessing evil. The residents of Colchester were terrified, and they started cutting back bushes to stop possible attacks. The police acted quickly, and even interviewed Fairweather. The breakthrough came on May 27, 2015, when a dog walker saw Fairweather acting suspiciously and told the authorities. When they arrived, they found gloves and a knife on him, confirming their suspicions. Before his violent spree, Fairweather was just 15 years old and had made headlines as one of the youngest criminals in the UK. His life had been tough. He struggled with school, especially reading, and the death of his grandmother in February 2012 made things even worse. During his trial in January 2016, Fairweather tried to say he wasn't fully responsible for the murders, claiming he had mental health issues.
Some of the voices were talking to me, you need to make a sacrifice or we're going to come and get you, you need to do it. And I saw him, it was laying on the grass.
However, experts disagreed, saying his claims of hallucinations and hearing voices were not true.
So I felt like that, it was like that, just fast asleep, where he was drunk. Then he goes, he's the one.
On April 29, 2016, Fairweather was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 27 years. Throughout his trial and interviews, he showed no remorse for his actions. His case sparked important debates about mental health and criminal responsibility in the UK. Many people questioned if there were enough mental health support systems in place for young people, especially those with troubled backgrounds. After the attacks, the community took action to make the area safer. Neighborhood watch programs were started, and schools and universities began offering personal safety workshops. The police also looked at how they could better prevent similar violent acts and improve mental health screenings for young offenders. James Fairweather's case is a sad reminder of the complexities of youth violence and the need to address mental health issues. The lives lost because of his actions still affect the community today. Society must work together to improve mental health care and create safer environments for everyone. Michael Hernandez. On February 3, 2004, in Palmetto Bay, Florida, a horrific crime took place when 14-year-old Michael Hernandez lured his close friend, Jamie Guff, into a school bathroom and brutally stabbed him over 40 times.
Michael Hernandez, then 14 years old, lured his best friend, Jaime Goff, also 14, into the boys' bathroom at Southwood Middle in February of 2004. He stabbed him 42 times right there.
This shocking incident revealed the dark side of their friendship and the terrifying intentions Hernandez had been hiding. In a surprising interview in February 2008, Hernandez admitted that he chose Jaime as his victim because he believed Jaime would be the easiest to manipulate among his friends. This chilling revelation added even more horror to the already disturbing crime. During his trial, Hernandez described the murder in shocking detail. He explained how he tricked Jaime into going into the bathroom stall, put on gloves, and slit his friend's throat.
Before that, I put on the gloves. He saw me put on the gloves, and I said, "Oh, that."
Oh, you're going too fast.
And I said, "I like them because they're comfortable. They were latex gloves."
Hernandez even confessed that he had planned the murder for a while, and had also considered hurting another friend, Andre. The trial also revealed that Hernandez had an unhealthy fascination with notorious serial killers like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer. This interest in violence seemed to have influenced his mindset, making him believe he was on some kind of mission to cleanse the world by committing horrific acts. In February 2016, the case took a new turn when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that young offenders should be treated differently, leading to a re-evaluation of Hernandez's sentence. Despite this, a Miami-Dade County judge decided that Hernandez should remain in prison for life, given the severity of his crime. Sadly, Michael Hernandez died in prison at the age of 31. The details of his death remain unclear, adding another layer of mystery to an already tragic story. His life and actions continue to raise questions about the impact of violence, the effect of unhealthy influences on young people, and the need for careful consideration when dealing with young offenders. This case serves as a reminder of the complexities surrounding crime and punishment, especially for young people who commit violent acts. It also underscores the importance of addressing mental health issues and the need for early intervention to prevent such tragedies from happening. Zachary Davis. On August 10, 2012, 15-year-old Zachary Davis committed an unimaginable crime when he killed his mother, Melanie, and tried to set their house on fire with his brother still inside. This shocking act of violence came after a difficult childhood. Zach's father had passed away from ALS when Zach was just 9 years old, which left him deeply affected. Following his father's death, Zach started hearing voices and was diagnosed with schizophrenia and depression. Sadly, his family stopped his therapy too soon, not realizing how serious his mental health issues were. That tragic night, after returning home from the movies with his mother and older brother Josh, Zach went to the basement and grabbed a sledgehammer. In a fit of rage, he struck his mother nearly 20 times, killing her. He then tried to set the game room on fire, hoping to kill his brother Josh. Fortunately, Josh heard the fire alarm, escaped, and discovered the horrifying scene. In a chilling interview with Dr. Phil McGraw, Zach showed no remorse. When asked why he did it, he replied, "She wasn't taking care of my family."
No, I think it was a stupid thing to do.
His lack of emotion and the details of his actions painted a disturbing picture of his mindset. During his trial, Zach tried to blame his brother, Josh, but his lawyer eventually admitted that Zach was responsible. The court recognized that Zach's mental illness played a significant role in his crime, so he was sent to a psychiatric facility for treatment. This case sparked important conversations about mental health care for children and teenagers. Experts stressed how important it is for young people with mental health conditions to receive ongoing support. In Zach's case, the lack of continued therapy contributed to his tragic actions. Zach's case also highlighted the need for better communication between mental health services and families. Advocates for mental health reform began pushing for improved access to therapy and support systems for families dealing with similar issues. Mental health professionals stressed the importance of reducing the stigma around mental illness and teaching parents how to recognize warning signs. As Zach continues his treatment, his story serves as a reminder of the complexities of mental health in young people. It emphasizes the need for strong support systems and the impact of childhood trauma. Families dealing with mental illness are encouraged to seek help and keep open lines of communication to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Edmund Kemper, the co-ed killer. Edmund Kemper's path to infamy began when he was just 15 years old, committing his first murder on August 27, 1964. After a heated argument with his grandmother, he shot her in the head and back with a hunting rifle. When his grandfather returned home, Kemper killed him too, believing it would spare the older man from the shock of his wife's death. In a 1991 interview with Stéphane Bourgeois, Kemper recalled his violent acts with unsettling calmness and no remorse. He described how he killed his first two victims, two young women, around 6 p.m., and by 11 a.m. the next morning, they were completely gone from his life. He spoke with chilling detachment as if the murders were insignificant. Kemper's killings didn't stop there. His third murder came after he called in sick to work just to plan the attack. He took a day off to carry out his brutal plans, revealing his disturbing excitement about his actions. He spoke about luring victims into his car and said that anyone who got in would be at risk. He explained that his anger and frustration would make him kill anyone unlucky enough to cross his path. The horror escalated further when Kemper turned on his mother. In April 1973, he killed her with a claw hammer before carrying out further acts against her body.
That was 1 week before I murdered my mother. I said, she's got to die, and I've got to die.
He then tricked his mother's close friend, Sarah Howlett, into a deadly situation, ultimately strangling her too. Kemper's crimes became even more shocking as they continued to pile up. In 1973, Kemper was arrested and indicted on 8 counts of first-degree murder. Despite pleading insanity, psychiatric experts found him mentally competent and declared him guilty. Although he requested the death penalty, he was instead sentenced to 7 consecutive life sentences and remains in prison at the California Medical Facility in Vacaville. What makes Kemper's case so unsettling are the interviews he gave in which he spoke about his crimes with an eerie excitement. His cold and casual recounting of the murders still haunts those who hear his words. The fact that he seemed almost pleased with what he had done makes his story all the more chilling. His lack of remorse and his calm demeanor continue to disturb people to this day, reminding everyone of the horrors he inflicted. Nathaniel Brazil. On May 26, 2000, Nathaniel Brazil made a decision that would change his life forever. On the final day of school in Lake Worth, Florida, Nathaniel, who was only 13 years old, took a gun that had been stolen from his grandfather. Armed with the .25 caliber handgun, he went to school and confronted his teacher, Barry Bruno. In a shocking act of violence, Nathaniel pointed the gun at Mr. Bruno and pulled the trigger, fatally shooting him in the head. Nathaniel was quickly arrested and charged with serious crimes, including first-degree murder. After his arrest, he spoke about his time in prison and the impact it had on him. He said that he missed the freedom to live his life, make his own choices, and do things without restrictions. Nathaniel also spoke about the weight of his guilt, saying that he had to live with the knowledge of what he had done every day. When asked about the effect on Mr. Bruno's family, Nathaniel expressed a wish to seek forgiveness from the teacher's wife. In February 2001, Nathaniel was convicted for the murder of Mr. Bruno and for threatening another teacher with the gun. He was threatening another teacher with the gun. He was given a harsh sentence, 28 years in prison, followed by 7 years of probation. He would have to serve at least 25 years before he could be considered for parole. Nathaniel's story has raised many questions about justice and the rehabilitation of young offenders. Some wonder if his punishment is too harsh for someone so young, while others debate whether young people who commit serious crimes should have the opportunity for rehabilitation. As of now, Nathaniel is in prison at Jackson Correctional Institution, and his potential release date is set for May 18, 2028. During his time in prison, Nathaniel has worked hard to better himself. He completed his General Educational Development GED program and earned certification as a paralegal. His story highlights the complexities of youth offenders and how difficult it can be to balance justice with the chance for redemption. While his crime was tragic and caused great pain, Nathaniel's efforts to improve himself behind bars show the possibility for change and growth. Whether it was a tantrum or an outrageous comment, these kids sure didn't hold back in the courtroom. What did you think of these moments? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our next shocking story. Thanks for watching.